Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the weekly catch up. I think this is episode number 3. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's number 3. So, welcome. Hopefully, now joining us is our co host, Jeffrey K. Holbrook. Always coming in. Hi.
With having a Windows computer, it just decided it wanted to take this opportunity to do about 20 minutes of updating just now. So I'm just sitting there like, I've just been here all this time and was not and couldn't do a thing. You're just,
And
I'm so sorry about that.
But now with Windows computers, as you said, you're on 10, are you?
Yes,
So 10, they've made it so it automatically does it. You don't have the option. You can't have the option to say, I don't want to do it.
No, it was doing it when what it is, I turned the computer off, about a half hour, 45 minutes ago to, and then I restarted my router and everything and make sure everything's a good signal. And then when I turn it back on, it's like, oh, okay. And it just kept going and going and going. And you're defenseless. I mean, there's really nothing you can do. It's sad.
Well, I was tossing up whether to wait to see you come in, and I thought, well, is he waiting for me to come in or not?
No, I fully expected to come in and be in chat, and then as soon as you did the intro, I was going to jump right in, but I wasn't there.
Well, you can cut that little bit out between when you wasn't there and for the intro, because I did it quite well. I thought it came in okay, and I was a bit scared I didn't want to pause the recording. Because after the last time, we paused it and we lost it for some reason. So
the joys of beta.
Well, that's right. Yes, but it seems to be that it's been in that for so long. It seems to be a bit funny to still call it beta, isn't it? When it's been going for so long.
Yeah, I think so. But the thing is, there's been such constant, massive change to the system all during that time. That I think that probably has something to do with it, because it's evolving still, and so that's what beta is all about, is to have people using it while you're adding things to it.
And when it first happened, when there's somebody who came in, like when you buzzed in, it would say buzz in, you just say okay, but now it says show caller, so you click on the show caller and then you've got to accept them. Whereas before, you just accepted them in.
I'm expecting that's because with everyone doing shows, that what they've run into is trolls. And
so that Lisa can...
Like, who is that? He gave his trouble last time. I don't think I'll let him in. That
is a good idea, but when you're not expecting it, that's what's a good thing. You do see quite a bit of change, and it's usually is good. So I never mind that too much. So it's doing it for the best.
It's a good thing.
So how have you been? On holidays and on vacation?
Yeah. We actually decided that I took a week off from work, and we decided that we were going to see what it was like to be retired.
Oh,
so what happened was we just woke up each day and said, what do you want to do today? It's not like, what do I have to do today? Do I have to go to work? What do I have to do? It was like, what do you want to do today? Well, let's see. We'll go and we'll do this. So we went and did that. And then we went and did other things. And then some days we said, I don't want to do anything. And we just sat and watched TV and then work a little bit around the outside of the house, do some things. And just, to me, I am so much looking forward to retirement, mainly so I can be home, because I spent all my time at work wishing I was home. So when I retire, I'm sure we'll take trips. I just want to be home for the most part. That's I spend my whole work life wishing I was home. So,
well, I must admit, I do enjoy the fact where you don't have to rush around, because on the weekends you feel as I've got to do this, because if I don't do it, I can't do it in the week because I'm working. Right. And that's the only reason you rush around doing things, and then you're not enjoying your time off. But if you don't worry about it, like I did really on Sunday, apart from taking the dog for a walk, I pretty much stayed in the whole day, but I did some filming inside, did some editing, did something else, but just what you wanted to do. But then you think, my goodness, the day seems to go very, very quickly, but I enjoyed it.
So there's the saying that that you're having time flies when you're having fun. That's why it never
Mm.
flies at work. It only flies when you're doing something you really enjoy doing.
Well, that's where maybe I really do enjoy my work, because time does fly for me at work, because I do enjoy what I do.
Well,
So.
it did happen to me the other day, and it really, really moved fast, and I was just shocked. But
Mm.
it was the day before our primary election. And
Oh,
so, of course,
okay.
at the Postal Service, we have to get all the campaign literature mailed out, and so there was double
Mhm.
overtime over the weekend. And then yesterday, Tuesday, was the actual election itself in our state, for the primary, to decide who each party is going to run. And so then they had all that, and then now, okay, whew, that's over. So now I've got a couple days off, and there we go.
Well, they've done that here, but as I've always said, with the difference in the election and from here to there,
Mhm,
the current government announced an election on Sunday.
mhm.
So, but they've haven't started any. So they've just started now, but that will all be wrapped up by the 1st of July.
Cool.
That's how short it is
Oh,
here. So they've just said, yep, they're having the election, but they don't go through all these things about who's going for it. It's already decided.
mhm.
The party just decides it, and that's it. And sent all the literature out in the post, so that our postal service would have been busy this weekend
Mhm.
too, because they got them all out on Monday. But that was funny. They never announced it until Sunday night, so they must have had it in the post on
No,
Friday.
no, yeah, it's
So
always planned. Yeah.
yeah, so they had it way in advance, because you see, you don't get it on Monday. The postal service, no matter how good it is, they can't do it from Sunday night and get it out Monday morning.
I believe I, bel I
'Cause
believe the term is malice aforethought. The
yes,
legal
yeah,
term.
yeah, can't do that at
Mhm.
all. So, but we're in for an election too. But at least, unlike yours, ours is short and sweet,
Yeah,
so it's over with quite quickly, and then you know who you're going for before they've called
right.
it. Whereas there, you're still not quite sure. Oh, are you sure yet? It's who you're voting for. Are you sure who candidates at your end? I'm not too sure.
Uh,
It's Donald's in, isn't he?
yes. Well, it looks like he's going to be the nominee for the Republican Party without any trouble, because everyone else has either dropped out or
Dropped out.
suspended their campaigns, as they say, and not releasing their delegates.
Yeah, but is that why they say suspended rather than given up or stopped it?
Yes.
Is there a chance they can start them up again?
Well, if you just suspend your campaign, it gives you a little bit of power to possibly be vice president and bring your delegates into the mix, that
Oh,
type of
okay.
thing. But as
Mm.
far as short and sweet, ours isn't short, and it certainly has not been sweet. There's some really, really
No, but
harsh
that's what I
people out
said.
there.
But I said that's what I like with it. Ours definitely is short and
Hmm.
sweet. It's started on Sunday and it will finish within 6 weeks and it'll be
That's
gone.
that, that's
So
really cool. It was exciting this evening not to see all the political campaign advertisements on television. We were
mhm.
watching my wife's favorite show in the whole wide world is NCIS, and so anyway, we watched that together. I'm off on Tuesday evenings, and it's perfect, so we sit and watch it. And there wasn't a single campaign commercial, and it was really cool.
Oh,
It was great.
yeah, because it's good when you get your favorite show and then you just lose track, because the political adverts don't tend to just go for 30 seconds. It's like a mini show in itself,
Hmm.
and it seems to take over, don't they? So,
Yeah, about all we can do around here is just not believe anything any candidate says about themselves, or
mhm.
believe any candidate what they say about the other a candidate, the other opponent. Don't believe any of that. All we can do is go online. We've got the tools. Just go and look and see what they've actually done, what they've actually voted for, you know, all that kind of stuff. Oh, my next door neighbor is running over here uh, for the state senate, and turns out
Oh,
he is running unopposed, but he's in the. My wife and I are both registered independent, but we can choose which party we want to vote in the primary for. And
oh,
so we ended
okay.
up voting in the opposite party of what he is running in, but he was unopposed, so we couldn't have helped him anyway. But in the general election, we'll see what happens, because we'll have the opportunity to vote for him then. Real nice guy, looks like Phil Collins.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so, it's a great guy. And
Does he sing as well?
not that I'm aware of, but he does have this really nice little side by side four-wheeler truck thing that has a blade on the front of it. And once he clears his driveway, he comes and clears mine.
Well, that's good.
Things say, well, why did you vote for Glenn Jeffries? Well, he cleared my driveway, and he'll clear yours too. That type of big old slogan, you know.
Oh, we had somebody pop in, and then they popped out again.
Yeah.
So. Well, that's amazing. At least we had somebody pop in.
And it was Johnny. I mean, you can't get any better than that. It was Johnny. Johnny. I don't know, but here's Johnny.
Even I know that.
Yeah,
that was quite strong.
Did something
maybe because I just locked the seat as well, so nobody buzzes in.
So. That could be it. They were probably just wanting to come in and find out what was going on, and I'm getting out because I can't get in there and cause any trouble.
Yeah.
We did have something very interesting going on though. A friend of mine that I work with, she is from the Philippines, and she married an American and moved here, and she's working for the Postal Service like I am. And she actually went through all the process and did the citizenship thing. And so she went to the ceremony, the local ceremony here in Charleston, West Virginia, to give the oath to be a citizen of the United States. And there were like 59 different people that were involved. There was even a couple from Great Britain. I think there were 3 from Canada, but then most of the rest were countries that didn't have English as their primary language. Places like Singapore. There were some Arab countries, some and then Iran? I mean, just all over the place. Kyrgyzstan, just all kinds of different things, but not one Australian. I mean, I'm guessing nobody wants to leave. They definitely don't want to come over here. Whenever you compare the 2 types of elections we have, they probably want to stay in Australia instead of coming over here and listening to all that.
But it's probably the same way like it is here. There wouldn't be too many Americans because the countries are similar. They're both good countries that you want to be in. So,
that's a good place to be.
Not like a lot of the other countries are good to get out of, and as I said, I can definitely say I don't want to get out of here.
No. The vast majority were, like you say, were countries that didn't have English as their primary language. I was surprised to see the English folks and also the Canadians. I mean, you're just like next door neighbors. So I was thinking, okay, why would you want to do that?
Well, I would be surprised because I didn't think you let anybody become citizens.
Well, no, actually, there's a good rip-roaring constant flow of people who are doing it legally. I mean, but all you ever hear about is the people who sneak across the border. But I mean, there were 59 in Charleston, West Virginia, which is a very small little city. I mean, it's not a real city by any world standards at all. And there were 59 right there in that one ceremony.
Well, I applied to emigrate to America back in 1986, I think it was. I couldn't get in. Said no.
Oh, really?
As long as yes, you can come, providing there's no other able-bodied American can do the same thing as you do. In other words, you can't come in.
Well, that's wild. Well, they have definitely changed the rules because it seemed like to me that I mean, they didn't have to prove that they had any type of. Now, this lady was married to an American.
That makes a difference.
But
I think.
I'm sure we can find you an American to marry. It should be pretty easy, no problem. No, but we have. But then what she wants to do is petition to get her father over here from the Philippines, and that's what was driving her to go ahead and get the citizenship and everything.
Oh, well, that's a good thing because I mean, I would have like here, I don't have any problem with people bringing their relatives, their elderly relatives with them because when they're past retirement age,
sure.
It's best if they can do, in these countries, much better health system in yours and our countries and say back in the Philippines. Anyway.
Yeah.
But do they have to be? They have to be permanent residents for at least 5 years, don't they?
I'm guessing, yeah, because she's been here for a while, and now she started working at the postal service back at Christmas time. And what's funny was whenever she was going to do the final interview, she had to drive to Pittsburgh, which is a few hours away. And I said, okay, you're going to be going and doing the quiz. They're going to ask you American history questions and stuff like that. And I said, ask me the questions that they've given you on your sample questions and see how I can do. And so, and then that'll kind of give you a little bit of a thing going on. And what's funny is the people who are naturalized citizens in general know more about our history than what we do, because we've just taken it for granted. But I love history. And so she says, okay, she asked me a couple questions about things, and then she said, okay, I've got one for you. When was the U.S. Constitution, ratified?
Oh, goodness.
And what year? And I said 1787. She said, you knew that?
How did you know?
Yes. I love it. And she finally stumped me on one question. You know what it was?
What was
our current West Virginia House of Representatives person, because we just recently changed, and I knew that our House of Representatives lady ended up being the senator. I didn't know who had replaced her because that just happened recently. Ancient history I'm good at. Modern, up-to-date stuff. Sorry, I missed that one. But I did not know who it was. And so she had to tell me who that was. But all the ancient stuff I got, I mean, I had all that down because it was like, oh, okay. But the average citizen has no idea. They have no appreciation really for.
Well, I'll have to study because I think I'm still not an Australian. I'm still.
Oh, are you? Well,
because so I should get myself naturalized and become an Australian, a proper Australian.
Well, you haven't had anybody showing up, at your door or anything, have you?
No. Well, the thing was when we came to Australia, it was sort of they couldn't do enough to get you here in the 70s and that. And so being a permanent resident, we could vote, we could do everything the same. There's no advantage. There's no difference between me being an Australian and what I am at the moment. The only difference to me is when I travel over, I just need when I get a passport, I need a re-entry visa.
Oh,
that's all I need. But that lasts for the 10 years for the life of the passport. But that's the only difference. If I was Australian, I don't need it because I could get an Australian passport. Oh, okay. But the only thing that's stopping me, because I've got my passport, I would have done it ages ago, but I'm waiting for 2018 for my passport to run out because then I'll just do it beforehand. Then I'll get an Australian passport. Whereas I just hate updating a passport because if I become an Australian, then my British one is not valid unless I have to reapply for a British one as a secondary country, but I wouldn't. I'll just keep the Australian. So.
I mean, I'm surprised that if you're not a citizen, that you can actually vote. I mean, that's
wild. Well, I'm permanent resident, but anybody who like from the British that came here before 1982, yes, and even before then, if you came from Italy, Greece, you couldn't. But it was because it was England. It was the English settlement, but they couldn't do enough to get you out from England to here. And that was one of the things you could vote and all that. So
that's a major incentive to want to come over then.
And but I've got nothing against it. I'll just wait for my passport to run out, then I'll get the Australian one. Okay. So, then if I go crazy and that they can't deport me then, because technically I suppose if they don't like me, if I do something wrong, they can deport me back to England. But I suppose at least it's not the end of the world if I did something shocking. Well, it could be somewhere like Beirut or somewhere, but
or Guantanamo Bay.
At least I get deported to England, so I know that's might not be the best from Australia, but I mean it's not the the West, and I'm pretty confident I've been good all my life. I'm not going to do anything drastic to do that. And if I do, I deserve it.
Well,
So,
well, if they actually change the policy of shipping criminals from England to Australia, and then they start shipping them back in the other direction, that would be kind of bad. No, I believe they abolished that policy years ago, didn't they? Like 100 years or more ago.
That was the thing where they said, this started out as a penal colony, but now all the ones who sent us over here want to come here themselves, sort of thing. It's quite strange that that they sent them over here to get rid of them, but they ended up having the better life.
Yeah.
Really, I think they really did. So, and so, other than your holidays, what else have you been up to with tech or anything like that?
Well, as far as tech goes, the book that I was working on is online and on sale now. So I actually finished it and submitted it, and the author, with no changes of any kind, approved it and was happy, which shocked me. And I was gratified by that. That was nice. But then whenever it came time to put it on Amazon, he made one little mistake, and I had made one little mistake. His was on the cover art. There was like a white border around it or something, and I believe that's against the rules. And what I had done was taken the closing credits and combined it with the about the author thing at the end of the book, and assumed there wasn't a separate place for it. It turns out you just put the about the author in the chapter section, and then it took me 10 minutes to get that separated, recompiled, and uploaded. And so between him fixing the cover and me fixing that one little thing there, in an hour it was reapproved. I mean, it was fully approved and ready to go. So like you say, we worked together really, really well. But like you say, sales are going gangbusters. I don't think anybody knows about it right now.
I was just going to say that's why you're thinking about retirement, because now all the royalties are rolling in. So you can afford.
No, not much rocking or rolling going on right now. I think it's like 3 or 4 sales or something, and those were by Audible people who were already there, and they used it for their free monthly book. I mean, we still get the commission. We still get the commission, but they discovered it probably as a new book. Of course, I've mentioned it on my website, and I haven't done any massive, bothering my friends trying to get them to buy my book or anything like that. As far as I know, on his website, it hasn't even showed up yet. I mean, he hasn't said anything about it yet, so I was kind of surprised. But anyway, that's the way it goes. But it's just one of, and I'm finding that I do like the short form much better than the long form. I just did my 3rd. Oh yeah, we got a new cat, a used cat at the shelter, and now she's trying to get in the door.
Well, I don't know if you can. I can't hear you, but I don't know if you can hear my end. But my dog's snoring.
Yeah. I was able to hear that a little bit. Yeah.
He's down there. I say, "Shut up!" And I can't leave him out. If I leave him out, then he's crying at the door because he's thinking he's being left out.
Well, I think the balcony outside my door here is being recarpeted right now because the cat's probably tearing it up with her claws. But she likes me. What can I say? But
if you got flashing lights there, because we keep behind your head, the light keeps changing. Those little color things, the light keeps popping. Oh, there it goes again. Oh, there's a light coming on.
Yeah, no. There isn't any light changing. It's just that the camera itself, as I move, there's no difference in my lighting. It's just that as I move, it's probably the reflection off my head.
Yeah,
because the camera.
Oh no, but I just thought there's a light, but it's just the white balance or something. Yes. The aperture just keeps changing when you move your head, and I thought, oh gee, that's strange. Yeah. I thought there was light. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's it.
Well, no, I had noticed that. But anyway, that's on there, and I did another poem for Verses in Vox. The poetry thing, the one that you heard is out there. I did another one that hasn't appeared yet, and then I just now did one that they're going to have us to do that's going to come out on Father's Day, I believe. And I just got that one done here 3-4 hours ago. And I turned.
Oh, that's good.
So I turned that one in. I'm really enjoying those, and I really do like the short form stuff so much better than I do the long form things. I can do them all in one session, like I did.
Yeah, I
went in there for about a half an hour, and I read through it, and did 6 or 7 takes all in one long straight line.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the last couple are the best, because you've had to, and so I was able to, pick the one I thought was the best and do the editing and had it. The whole process took me an hour or so. Because, because
that's good.
Wait a minute, here's my script. Can't let you see what it is, but I had that at work, and I had read over it. I had read over it over 3 or 4 days on breaks and lunches and stuff. I'd get it out every so often and read it, get a feel for the way I was going to, perform it. And then I just went in there and did it, and got the editing done. Gone. I mean, so much nicer.
That's the thing. If you read it and read it and read it, then you're not, because you stress sometimes over the reading. You know exactly what words are there, but it's a bit like I say, when you're holding a cup of coffee and you're running down the hallway at work with your cup of coffee, everything can be fine. Nothing will happen. But if somebody says, "Hey, be careful with that coffee."
Exactly. Hey, Justin.
And same thing where, and so when you've got your script, as soon as you say, "I better not make a mistake," and you just say something totally wrong.
Oh, exactly. Because it's like, walking and chewing gum at the same time. You run into that exact problem. But yeah.
Yes. So hello, Justin, as well. Sorry, I didn't see you coming.
No problem.
Oh, he's gone.
Oh, he's gone now. Okay. But the short form stuff is much more pleasant. I find it much more. It's not as intimidating, and I can hear the differences. It shocked me whenever he approved that audiobook completely in one piece without any changes of any kind. He thought it was fantastic. The way he was talking, but I can hear differences in different sessions, the different audio. It sounds a little, sometimes I'm softer. You can tell I was tired after work one night, and then I did some on my day off, and it has more energy to it. And I'm just like, it's not perfect, which bothers me, but I don't think audiobooks are really perfect. I mean, I haven't listened to that many myself yet, but people are telling me, yeah, it's different from one chapter to the next. I was,
and one chapter to the next, I suppose that's fine, because there usually is, if you take a break of a couple of 30 seconds between that, yes, you can expect that. But one I think it's really noticeable is if it changes within the chapter. You can't have that. You've got to do one recording at a time, and then do that. You can't stop and start. You've got to just do that. And then, because they said it will be quite different.
Yes, they have chapters for reasons. And, and so this book wasn't even chaptered out. I actually edited chapters into it based on the sections the way they were. And he based, it was really a good first book to do, because he gave me carte blanche to actually do editing. And after it was over with, I gave him the fully edited script from which he's going to update his original ebook with, so I was able to give him that service. It wasn't part of it, but I actually edited his script for him as I was reading it, so I could, and so now he's going to update his original ebook with it.
But I suppose when you see these top actors that do the readings, but they've done it so often, they probably do a book, in a studio for 8 hours and get it down straight away. So if it takes you 3 hours to read it, it probably took them 8 hours to record it, and they probably did it in one day. But then they've got usually those top end they can keep going, they make mistakes, but they've got some other schmuck in the background spending 500 hours editing it, don't they?
Right. That's the difference. This book was 4.5 hours finished, and it probably took me 25 hours or so to get the whole thing done. And I standardized it, did it exactly the same way, the same settings, everything the same. But the only thing I could not control, and it was the first one I've done, the only thing I could not control was a slightly different sound from one chapter to the next, from one day to the next. Like that, I wasn't able to make it all sound, hey, here we go. I wasn't able to make it all the same.
And I don't think you can. You can try and do like I try to do, that you note down, make sure it's the same microphone, it's the same settings. I take a photograph of the settings, make sure it is still the same in there.
IL was here.
And hello, somebody else. That's great, somebody else to join us. But I've found it amazing that you can have everything the same, but you can't. Even if you're at the same time of day, your voice changes. It depends if did you have too much coffee or not
Right.
enough. Depends on how you handle it, or did you have a cold drink before? Did you have warm
Mhm.
water? It makes quite a bit of difference to that as
Oh, it
well.
does, it
So
does.
quite a bit of difference, I find.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm relieved for you that you've got the book out, because I know even just doing these short chapters, it is quite hard to do. But when you've got a whole type of book, that's quite a feat, really, isn't it? So,
Well, like you say, I'm finding that I really do prefer the shorter term stuff. I mean,
mm,
this I was able to do it. You know, I had like 6 weeks to do it in, but having that hanging over me, and then I'd be working on it as every time I got the chance. But then there would be a situation
mhm,
like we had over the last few days, a rush of overtime at work, and I worked
mm,
double overtime over this past weekend. It might be 3 days before I could get back to it. So it's
mm.
maybe it is going to sound a little differently whenever I do it when I come back 3 or 4 days later.
and And also with the recording like that, it's the sort of thing. If you get put off for 3 days, no matter how much you enjoy it, it's you've got to get back into it
Right.
again. I don't you find, whereas if you don't, I've done other recordings and you come back and you all excited and to do. Then if you have 3 or 4 days break, oh, I want to do something else, or it's a bit harder to get back. But once you get back into it, and I know I get obsessed with those things, I can be stuck there for hours and hours. But you've got to consider the rest of life
Mhm.
sometimes.
Oh,
You've got other things to
oh,
do. So,
exactly. Well, like you say, when you're on contract, I mean, this was a legal contract to finish this book
yes.
within the prescribed period of time. And so, yes, you're working at it, but then real life interferes. And if you have 3 or 4 days, it changes everything. It does.
Well, I've got a bit of my equipment back. I don't know if you remember. I have one of where I connect my microphones up
Hmm.
to, and that piece of equipment. Every time I used to
Hmm.
connect it, it used to fuse all the electric circuits in the house. So I'd be on there, so doing a recording, and then all the lights would go out.
Oh,
Snap. So that wasn't very good.
that
So
is not
now I've
funny.
got that back. So I'm using that now again. So that
Hmm.
makes it a bit different. So I can increase the big bottom on that. So it does that, makes it a bit
Oh yeah,
deeper on that
I was
one.
wondering
So
what position your mic was in because I you can't see it in the picture. Yeah, it's just right down below.
just down there,
Mhm.
right down there, because I thought, because it's one of my current ones, but it does quite a good
No.
sound from
Mhm.
there, and it's better without it being right in front. But it's
Right.
on the Aphex, and the thing is with the Aphex, you cannot overpower it. So if you can yell right into it, but it's not going to overpower. And plus, also when you move slightly, it doesn't give the off access sound.
Right.
It sort of, so you can move around a little bit. So
Mhm.
it's like having one straight onto your head. But I was ever so pleased to get that fixed, because I thought if I don't get it fixed, it was at the time I think about a $900 piece of electronic rubbish if it couldn't be plugged in.
Ah,
And
we have had I had a piece of electronic rubbish, and I finally was able to
Mhm.
trade it off. I wasn't able to use it. I was finally able to trade it off for some sound treatment. That's actually a lot of us
Mhm.
here on the wall, and I've still got some more to deploy. But
Mhm.
it was it actually didn't serve well once I finally traded it for something I could use.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well, that's what I've got. I've got still some more sound treatment, because I'm one on the
mhm.
roof. I've got a little bit, but I've got some more. But I've just been lazy. I've just got to get up on the step ladder and stick it
Mhm.
up there, because because on the walls the other way it's not so bad, but on the roof you've got to hold it a bit longer for it to take.
Right, right. Well,
It's just a bit more awkward.
then just in this direction past the light changing guys back there, there's a
Mm.
large step ladder against the wall that is just leaning over there against the wall because I plan on doing a few things higher up. I've got some curtains to put right directly behind my
Mm.
monitor right here, and then some more curtains over there, some sound dampening curtains and stuff.
And also I've been doing for this, since we've been gone, I've done another video on the
Mm,
Osmo, the small thing. I'll put another one of them up for
excellent.
Tech Down Over for Relate
Uh-huh.
Corp. So I did that. So, and I don't know if anybody noticed on there, but I was taking out and about here, and there was a little uh, airport down here called Moorabbin Airport, where all the light planes fly and that. I just don't know if anybody noticed that the factories opposite the airport. Then all of a sudden, a jumbo jet and a 737 go over the building. I don't know. Nobody's noticed that we don't have jets, but
Oh,
I took those pictures in the Los Angeles airport, and I just green screened the jets out.
Okay.
Out of the sky, so it just put it so it looked like it's just coming out from behind the factory.
Oh yeah.
It looked really good, but I didn't tell anybody that. So, but it looked quite good. I thought it was quite exciting.
Oh no, I love your video. It's funny that you are video and I am audio. And so between the two of us, I think we should be able to put something together maybe. But
well, that's what but I do like. I think you can always have. You don't have to be as good in video, as I said, but your audio has to be always spot on.
Yes, it does.
But I know good video does help, but I mean, if you've got a crappy video, you can get away with it if you've got decent sound. But if you've got the best video out, it can be excellent. You can pay hundreds of $1,000s for somebody to do it, but if the sound is the wind blowing and the noise, you've just lost it straight away.
Exactly. No, I agree with you there. It has to be. The link I just put in there, that's a short link I made just to go straight to the Audible posting for that book.
Okay. So I was tossing up whether to join up to Audible. I keep hearing that, and I thought, gee, that might not be too bad. When I'm sick to death, but they say some people are saying it's great, but the only thing is it'll kill your listening to your podcasts because you tend to just listen to the books instead.
Yeah, so I go in. I do podcasts that are about what I'm doing, like about reading audiobooks or about voiceover or about writing and things like that. I have a tendency to go over those podcasts. And then if I get to a point to where I'm just kind of taking a slowdown, a hiatus or something, then I'll have a tendency to listen to music, or I have tried an audiobook or two for that.
But I've trying to listen to a lot of the things about the audio and voiceover just more so tells you about how to get into the business and all that. And I'm more so interested in the skill of voiceover and that, not so much the business side, because I know that you do have to get in there and do that, and there's plenty on that, but I just want to sort of know how to read things rather than just that sort of thing.
For that, what you would probably do would be regular acting classes.
That's what I think it's rather than because it's all to do. It's just acting without being on screen, and that's what they say is when you are reading it, you should film yourself, because when you're reading something excited, you should look excited and change your expression to. Because if you I said to somebody at work, I said, when you answer the phone, I know exactly what you do. Well, how do you know what I'm doing? I said, because you can tell it in your voice. I can tell when you're nearly sunk halfway, you're nearly sinking under the desk, because it sounds different. But if you're sat up there with and smiling, I know that. Well, you can't see me. I said, yeah, but it makes a difference. If you answer the phone with a smile, the other person on the other end can tell.
You have a smile in your voice. Okay. I mean, the smile is in your voice, and that's just the way it is.
But you've got to, you can't say, hello, how are you? And hello, and without smiling and make it sound. And it's the same thing with that. If you go, when you read it, he did a huge thing. You've got to do the hands. And then you sound like that. But you've got to, and I try to stand up when I'm reading, if I can. Okay. And I'll stand up next and have the thing, because I find when you sat down, it's just too restricted. But it is hard when you're standing up, because you feel like you're more performing, but that's the whole point. It should be.
Yeah, they have those standing desks that a lot of people use just for that, which is really, really good. One of the things, I saw a little short snippet of an interview that Benedict Cumberbatch did. And what happened was he had applied to, or had auditioned to be Smaug in The Hobbit. And so he did the voice for Smaug. Well, they showed some of the footage of him doing it, and what he was doing when he was doing Smaug was, I mean, he looked like he was in pain, he just looked like he was in pain, but that is how he got into character. He acted the part, even though you couldn't see him. He tried to be a dragon while he was doing it.
Because you have to, I think you have to, don't you, to get that. And especially when you're an actor like him, when he'll have multiple voices, that's how he remembers.
Oh yeah.
And how he does it. Whereas you can't just make them voices without having a different thing. Like, oh, you see those ones who do The Simpsons. When you see them, they don't just change the voices; they change their appearance. He becomes Monty Burns.
Yeah, you gotta do it. Yeah, so
he goes like that, and then he changes. But when you see, and I love watching all them because I think they're so talented. And as I said, it's good just to watch them.
The podcast that I listened to that was actually the soundtrack behind the book that I was doing is called Mike Lenn's voiceover, Lenz, I believe. And he is a podcaster that basically interviews all of these other I mean, he's a voiceover guy. He does audiobooks. He has written a book that he has out, but he interviews all of these people that their voices because the AT&T lady, AT&T, I mean, yeah, that lady, people that on all these commercials and all this stuff, and somehow he's got connections to all these people. And I just downloaded his entire back catalog, and what they're doing is talking about how they started. And so here I am laboring around in my booth, getting kind of scared. Okay, well, we're getting close on this. I haven't touched this in 3-4 days because I've been working overtime. And then I come back and I do that. And all of these people had the same insecurities that I was having while I was doing my first audiobook. And so it was just kind of like, I mean, some of these people have been doing it for 30 years. One guy was back on the books on tape days. Like the cassette tapes. He's been doing these things since the early 90s.
Reel to reel.
Yeah.
Even reel to reel.
Oh, yeah. 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 It's like, and so, one of those little cylinder things that Mr. Edison made up, so here we go. Yeah. And so
hammer and chisel. Yeah. How do you do a voiceover with that? It's just been hard today. So.
Oh yeah, but I mean, but every time I would listen to it on the way to work, on the way home, get a couple shows in a day, and no matter how I was feeling after I listened to some of the things some of these people went through, and it's their original stories, and then he always ends up with, what advice would you give to someone who was starting out? And they all have something different that they have to say. And yes, there is a little bit about the business and things like that, but it's about their story. And I found that very, very encouraging as I was going through the audiobook. And, it's thinking, well, everyone started just like I'm starting. And now some people suddenly found themselves in it because they were working for a production house or something, or working for something, and they just needed somebody real quick to do something. They did it, and somebody said, at the recording studio, it's like, hey, have you considered doing this all the time? And so they shifted from acting into it, or sometimes some of them were acting and doing voiceover. Some of them were writing books. As this one guy, it was great. He said, I was writing my own books, but I found out I could make way more money reading other people's books than I can writing my own.
and it's quite surprising. You see a lot of famous actors doing that you think, oh, I thought they died years ago, but they just found it was making more money, and there was more pleasurable doing because they were reading the scripts, but they didn't have to be on camera to do it at the same time. And so you can see that would be such an easy transition for an actor, because you think they've got it down pat without scripts in front. They've read it. They're doing it, whereas they can do the same thing, but have the script in front of them. How easy would that be for a trained actor? It would.
It exactly is. That's exactly what it is. And there's two components to it. There's conventional old style acting that you do, and then there's the business side of it. So if you're going to take any training, you get a voice coach, an acting coach, or take acting classes. And you take a business class on how to run a business and how to drum up business the same way you would for any type of prospecting that you do for any type of business. You just pound the pavement, as they say, for work, and then you do the acting. And they will tell you that 3/4 of it is the business aspect and pounding the pavement. The actual time you spend in the booth is not as much as you do trying to get work to spend time in the booth to do.
And like to say, just have a demo, very short, but just that sounds okay. I want that person.
Yes.
And just different styles. So you don't have to be a big long. And then again, you said it's the business part, so it's your reliability. So yeah, that will do. And they say, hey, gee, that guy did it. He did a turnaround. He got it back to me straight away. No arguments. Did that. Let's use him again. It might not. Hey, this one might sound better, but we don't know who he is. We know this one will deliver on time. It was okay.
Yes.
And some of the real good ones, but they might not be as good in delivering on time, because that's when people usually want these things. They usually want it yesterday.
Yes.
Don't usually.
Oh, exactly. Well, on ACX, it is all very steadily laid out exactly the way it's going to be. You are contracted. ACX is between you and the rights holder, as they call them. It's a person who wrote it. And then both up front exactly how long it's supposed to be. You have a certain amount of time to get the first 15 minutes of finished audio for them to listen to and approve, because if there's some problem, then you work that out right then. But you steadily, all along the way, you're shepherded through the process by ACX, and they have regulations, and there you go. What's funny is you have, like, on my profile, I've got different things online, different audio samples, and I put the first of these poems on there through Verses in Vox. I can use it for anything as long as I leave it intact. So I put it on there for a demo. So I put it on there for a demo. And I immediately got an offer from somebody else that I didn't audition for a 15-hour book.
Oh, and so you said, I'm not really ready for that.
Well, I mean, there's no way. I was still in the other book, and there was no way I could do that, and so, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. But he found the audition, because you're at the top of the list when you first put one on, and he found that audio sample and immediately offered me, listen to my other stuff, I guess, and immediately offered me this 15-hour book, which I had no time to deal with. So they can actually make direct offers to you too, even if you don't do the audition for it.
I'm really want to do a bit more into the e-learning, because I really enjoy doing them. They're really fun to do as well, because they're not too involved, but they can be involved enough so that you're not just parroting different things. You can really express yourself, but they're really quite fun to do, because you can follow a flow, and if they section, and what they're for different slides, so it's not all going to be one just straight big thing on that. But there's tons of work out there for that, because nearly everybody's doing some sort of e-learning.
That is something so far I have not seen the entry way into yet. And again, I'm still working full-time and overtime. I just haven't seen the entry and how to get into that yet. ACX is streamlined path for you. And again, I haven't picked up another book because I have a bunch of material for probably 3 books that I really need to get in ebook format and get in Amazon before I start taking another regular book, and then I will probably read my own audiobooks for those.
But then, like you said, with the regulations, but the regulations with your ACX is, yes, you're not allowed to do it in Australia.
That's something I'm wondering about, because there must be something that they do, or some regulation in Australian law that will not allow them to do whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah, because it says England's fine, but Australia no.
Right? Yeah.
Don't know what it is,
sad. But that's very sad.
Maybe it's just an easy way of saying they don't like the way people speak.
Well,
no,
I'm serious. That can't be it, because there are plenty of people that have that type of accent that are just in serious demand here. And supposedly in England, they want American sounding, generic American sounding accents, because I guess that's hot right now in England, is what I've heard on the podcast.
But then again, there's more people out there that can do a convincing American accent.
Yes.
Than there is than English and Australian. Whereas, because everybody's grown up with Hollywood films, so everybody can do it to a certain extent, but like some people do an Australian accent, and I don't know. It's a Cockney accent that they're doing, and I think, well,
Exactly.
that's not Australian. It's Cockney,
Oh, exactly.
or it's
I cannot do a good accent. I do not try to do anybody. About the closest I ever get is just jokingly saying that commercial. Foster's Australian for beer. And that's the closest I ever get with anything, because it's funny because it's not any good. And that's what, but that's because, but it's funny whenever you pop out and say it. We have a town in West Virginia called Foster, so I do occasionally have, I do occasionally have a chance to say that, just for the fun of it. But since there's 200 people working where I work at, I don't say it to the same person twice.
And then I think there's plenty of people out there that do accents and all that, but they're where the properly trained actors that do that.
Yes.
So they can do proper ones. But even the top actors, sometimes you cringe. I remember there's a show. What's it called? Eureka. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've heard.
It's an American show. Eureka.
I have heard of it. I know about the show, but I haven't watched it.
Well, there's one of the characters. I don't know what his name is, but you remember Max Headroom?
Yes.
That's him.
Oh, same guy, really?
That's the same guy. He's in that, and he's supposed to be an Australian part in the character, but he just, you get used to it, but it's just so bad that I think, oh yeah, guy, and really trying, and it's just trying too hard. But you think, I'm sure he thinks it's really, really good, but and nobody will notice.
Well, there should be a vocal coach that takes care of that thing. They should have somebody on set that is a vocal coach that actually deals with that and makes sure it's legit before they send it out there. Unless
he's the problem.
The whole point. Oh, he's that bad. They just couldn't get it going. Okay, yeah, I understand that.
But maybe you said maybe the whole point is it's supposed to be somebody with a bad accent, or because you never know. But as I said, it's definitely not American. It's definitely some sort of Australian, but it's not a good one. But once you've been watching the show for a while, it blends in, so you start thinking it's normal, because you get over it in the end.
So. Now, one of the things I found was funny too on this podcast was one guy got on there and he was talking about, he said, you know what, something that's really useful if you're going to do this kind of work, he said, is if you have voice training for singing.
Oh yeah.
And then also if you're used to being on stage and doing public speaking, so that you don't mind your voice, you don't worry about what your voice sounds like. You don't have any trouble. And I was thinking, that's me, because I had, when I was a child, and we had a family singing group, and we sang for about 20 years, but we had basic voice training as we were learning and learning parts, different parts, alto and, baritone and tenor and all that. And we had all that. And then I did some public speaking and had a little bit of training for that when I was in high school. And I'm like, it's one of the few things, this voiceover thing and the audiobooks is something that you can do even if you don't have a specific degree. They listen to you, and if you're good enough, they like it and they'll let you do it. The guy I did the book for is a PhD engineer, and yet he never asked if I had a degree. He never cared. It was stand and deliver, and this is what we've got. He said, that sounds great. It didn't matter if I had a degree or not. He didn't care. I could have been a doctor, or I could have not had a degree at all. He didn't care. How does it sound? The finished product is all.
That's
and
right.
There's very few things like that these days that you can actually do that they don't want credentials for.
But that's the thing is, though, as well, you've got to be just comfortable with listening to yourself, or else. And that's why I started doing it for years. I would never have done anything like this, but I was going around doing a lot of things and think, hang on, well, people have to listen to me anyway. I've been doing this, so I talk all the way. I don't keep my mouth shut, then I still do it. So why not record it? If I do sound horrible, well, I'll do in real life. So it's only just an accurate representation of what I'm speaking like normally.
Oh, no, there you go.
So why not? And plus, when you've got a script, and all that, you tend to speak better and clearly. Like on here, we might an hour a bit because we don't know what to say. But when you've got a script, you can go a bit slower, faster. You know where you go, how are you going to say it? And I'm amazed at how well it sounds when you've got something good to read, how good it comes over, rather than when you listen, say, gee, I sound awful just speaking like that off the cuff. But when you've got a script, it sounds quite a bit different. As well.
I've really been enjoying the poetry experience, because I have not, I have really, I mean, I've read some poetry, but as far as like being into poetry or performing poetry, I never really have. I wrote a few poems when I was younger, but you know, when I was in school and stuff, but I'm really enjoying, and I'm performing these pieces. It's actually performing, and you get in there and you actually perform the piece and say it the way, with the emotion that you're looking for. And so far, they seem really thrilled with what's happening. They haven't said, well, you're overacting, or no, that just, the first time they said excellent. The second time they said that's perfect. And I'm thinking, where do you go from perfect? You know, but this one here is a bigger challenge, because there's 2 or 3 separate emotions that have to be done at different parts of the stanzas. And when I first looked at it, it was like, dun, 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 you know, okay, here we go. But then after going over it several times, I'm thinking, okay, I'm ready for this. I did it, I recorded it, and then I did the editing and everything. And I said, I yelled down to my wife down off the balcony there. I said, I'm going to turn this up and listen to it and tell me what you think. And I played it, and I teared up and was sniffling from the emotion in his poem with me reading it, which is, you know, listening to my finished product. And I actually cried listening to it. And I'm thinking,
oh, you must have killed it then. That really did it well. Wow. That really did it well.
I'm thinking, wow, you know, so it's a very emotional thing. And so I was like, I mean, I cried as I was listening to my own performance, and it was like, wow, you know, it must have been okay.
That's good, as long as you didn't cry while you were performing.
No. Yeah, that's one thing. Since we were on stage so much growing up, there was one time we were on stage and my brother fainted. We were in this really hot environment, and my brother fainted, fell backwards, and his head snapped the cord off of my brother's guitar off the amplifier, knocked the amplifier back, the reverb units going, and we all just kind of go and watch him go and keep playing. And so the show must go on. And that's what we're used to. You perform and you can cry afterwards, you know, but I mean,
yeah, that's right.
But in the moment you do it, and that's what you do. And that's just the way we were trained and raised.
Yeah, that's one to say with difference. What would you have done differently in your life? I wish, like I said, I was always scared of getting up. I would never get in the front of people, do all that in my younger days. But if you know what you know now, except, well, you know, you would do a lot differently. I'm quite different now. And like, if there's things where I would always avoid sitting near the front of an audience, so you don't get to somebody asks you a question in a meeting or something like that. But I'm more the one, I'll always sit at the front, because I know now, with all the training that you do, the last people they tend to pick on is the ones at the front. It's always the ones at the back, because they're trying to hide. And if you go up front and you don't want, you'll be front and center. You're usually pretty safe.
Yeah, that's how.
That. But then I don't mind getting up and speaking about it, whereas I would have had fits, you know, 20, 30 years ago doing that sort of thing. But it's just to know that, you know, if you know what you're talking about, well, that's fine. Nobody's going to. Well, it's only when you're speaking a load of rubbish and you don't know what you're doing that you have to just watch out. I did a presentation once that had a thing, and it just said, as long as you know you've just got to cover every eventuality. And you know, I think I said, would you believe that 70%? We've surveyed 3,000 people, and 70% of those people said they would like product A. Would you believe that? And everybody did, of course. But like I had in the background, the next thing I found that very hard to believe. I said, well, would you believe 50%? And I was waiting for I don't think, well, my mother thinks it's great. But I had all that, like the Maxwell Smart, because I thought, but the thing was, people said, well, what do you said? Well, no, they didn't. I didn't interview 3,000 people to do that. But that's not the point. You've just got to be confident in what you say, and it sounds right. You can't, because who has done that? But he just said he was trying to just make a point in the presentation about a particular product that everybody was wanting.
Right.
But I would have never done that years ago. But because you knew it inside, if you've got an answer for everything, but and also as well, do that without, you haven't got any prompts of what you're saying. You just know it yourself. And I did that without any PowerPoint, because that's the whole thing. If you've got that sort of a bit of a crutch, having that up there, but you just do it with, by yourself. And that's,
no, if you truly believe in the product that you're touting, then it's very, very easy to do it. I mean, and people can see your belief, just like over the phone. You can hear the smile. People, if you believe, they believe.
And I tend to do that. So in a lot of the things I'll get involved in to a meeting or a presentation, because the things that I quite enjoy, and then people know that I do, says, oh, you might as well talk about it, because no matter what, you're so enthusiastic, it comes out.
It does.
And that really, you can't hide that where they get a lot of people just telling, but when somebody's enthusiastic about it, it just comes out, and people just go flow with it. If you know, and I love watching people. I've seen some podcasters, and sometimes they're speaking about subjects I might not be really interested in, but the person who's speaking just knows it inside out, and you can see he really enjoys it. And I get thrilled to listen. Oh no, what's he? Oh, keep going. And it's only because they're so excited and they've got no notes, but they're saying, no, that doesn't do that. You have to do this. You have to, and they just know it inside. No, the best way to do this. And you think, gee, they're so clever, and I really do enjoy it.
Well, the podcast host, what happens is people go to a podcast because of the subject matter. They stay because they get invested in the host of the show.
That's right. You do. They can say about anything, but you've got to be interested in the people in there. So that's why we've got 50,000 people watching.
Exactly, and we've already got a full hour in here already.
That's right. So yeah, so I think it's nearly about time to get going. So as I said, what I would love to be able to do is get not courage, but just know what to do, like with the camera work, just to do a bit of fake acting, to film something. You know what I mean? So rather than just do reviews or something, make a little video of actual doing something, but it's and come up with a script and put that into practice.
An actual movie.
I was talking to Rick that we do Tech Down Over. They said, what we should do, Rick, is get all his cameras together and get 30 people and go and film an event and put something together.
That would be cool.
But what we're talking about doing is next April, we're going to go to NAB. And we said, why don't we do like a documentary of our journey to NAB and then talk to people and interview some? I said, that'd be a great idea. I said, let's do that. So it's a purpose for doing that. You can film them, getting there, the trip going down, and what we've done on that. So that'd be an ideal thing.
Oh, it totally would. Make sure what you need to do is to walk around with a bunch of masks that have, people like Donald Trump and different presidents and things like that, and just walk up and I interview, and every person you go up to has got a mask of some famous person. that would be the funny video. You want to do a real video.
But the thing is, with NAB, there's so many people, the podcasters that I listen to and watch all the time. They go there because it's a great thing with all the cameras, videos, even the computers that go around, the editing tools. And it's supposed to be for the broadcast industry, but I think they get more people out of there than that's just in the private sector as well. But that's very good anyway. So
that is true.
I think that nearly gets us through to most of our things this week. We said usually had a pick of the week. One of my things I always suggest is and I can't go with my Friday night without watching Tony and Chelsea Northrop do their video podcast. And what they do for an hour and a bit, they've got slightly more viewers than us, I think. They're into the thousands. They're really popular. Like us. But they this is how popular they are. They start the show and say, okay, now go to this link and upload your photos, and we'll review your photos. Wow. Like if me and you did, that would be waiting here till next week, and there still wouldn't be one.
Well, basically, you can do that kind of thing once you have some listenership. Once you have some listenership, then you can get them involved and interacting and everything. But like you say, the time we're doing it here, the Eastern United States is not. This is not when people are going to be here, and people further west are still sleeping, and you know.
At 407 in the West Coast, and I mean it's 707 yours, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, 7:08 is what I'm showing here.
And so it still is an awkward time, so you won't get many. But I love that the Tony and Chelsea Northrop, because they just review photos and do portfolios to show what's good and bad in photos, and you see all different things. It's great to see, and then they have a little chit chat section of what people say in there and different gear that's coming up. But it's quite a good one, and I really enjoy watching it. But it's a weekly thing, but it's one of those things I'm getting worried that there's more content to watch than you actually doing things. So I've started cutting back on some of the podcasts because I thought, well, I'm not doing anything. I want to do more audio, but I get sat down, do this, and say, oh, I've missed out, haven't done my audio bits and pieces. So anyway, that's my pick for the week. Do you have something? A pick?
Well, of course, I guess I could tell everybody to go and look at my book, but that's a little too self-aggrandizement.
Go listen. No, go listen to it.
But okay, I'll say this: it's not actually a tech thing, but
doesn't have to be.
Okay, go to your local animal shelter and get you a good used kitty or a good used doggy. Okay, whenever you want a dog or a cat, okay, when you want a pet, go to the shelter and rescue one. The one that we got, her name was Lily, and she was a 4-year-old cat, and she was the oldest cat there. There was a kitten around, but this cat just stole our heart. She's just a real sweetie, and she's a companion for my wife whenever I'm at work, because my wife's disabled, and our cat had died. I mean, he was her buddy. He died over a year ago. But anyway, she's really fit in really, really well. She's really sweet, and she's stolen our heart already. I mean, she's done just something else. So, whenever you go get a cat, consider going to the shelter. And
I agree. I agree with you there, because the poor things you just can't imagine, like someone like this one, if he's been, and sometimes they haven't been mistreated, but somebody's died and they've loaded after them, and then the poor things wondered what's happened. So it's always good to do that. And I don't know about if they do that there, but the pet stores that sell all the dogs and cats, do they sell them there in your area? The dog, well, in here, there's a few pet shops, and I think they're going to make it law shortly that you're not allowed to sell just puppies from puppy farms. You can only have rescue animals, so they'll have it associated with. So they'll bring dogs and cats from the shelter. And then you can still go to the shelter to get them, and you can still do them at the shop, but you're going to help a sheltered one. You're not going to support these puppy farms, which sort of mass produce them, and the poor things live in horrible conditions and that.
Right, exactly. If you can get rid of the demand for that particular thing, and people can't make money out, they'll just kind of stop doing it. Now the cat that we had before, his name was Grizzly, but anyway. Well, he looked, when he was little, he was a solid black cat, and he looked like a little grizzly bear jumping around whenever he was playing when he was a little kitten. But we got him at a pet shop. But what happened was they just left their front door or their front window open, and people that had a bunch of kittens could just bring them in to there, and then they could be adopted, from the pet store itself, even though they had regular pets all through the store. These were always in the front window, and he was there all by himself. He was the last one. And when we walked in, my wife was wearing like some overalls with a pocket right here in the front. And anyway, we come in, and he was in there by himself. All of his brothers and sisters and siblings were all gone. And he just come up to the side of the box and just reached for us like this. And she picked him up and put him in. He went to sleep, and when he woke up, he was in our house. So that was, that was it. But no, I'm serious.
Can't resist that.
and these dogs and cats seem so grateful. I mean, there's a feeling of gratefulness that they seem to have whenever they've been, like Lily had been in the little glass front box there, you know, at the shelter for, we have a new animal shelter, so they actually have some really good facilities, but she had been in there for almost 3 weeks. And, you know, an older cat, it's a little hard to get them adopted, but we took the oldest cat in the place because she was exactly what we were looking for. And you know, it's matching up really, really well.
But definitely agree with you. They're like, even my dog here, William, and the last couple of dogs I've had, like, they're not rescue dogs, but they've always the dogs that nobody
Right.
wants. Like he was a show dog, and they got to the stage he was too big. They went to get rid of him. And same with the other one, too short, don't want them. Put him down, get rid of him. And it was sort of so I found him because I didn't want him. Of course, still had to pay for him, but give him away. But it's the sort of thing. And I found the few dogs I've had, about the third or second one I've had like that, got an older one, they've been the best dogs rather than the ones from puppies. Because it's just, you know, because the puppy thing seems to, you spoil them or do something, I don't know what you do, but they seem to be so much better when you get one that, like you said, they seem to be so grateful that you've rescued them from, because like he didn't have much of a life. He was a shirt, but he used to get put into a cage, put into a car, go to an event, then dragged out and put back into a cage. That's not much of a life. So they were so grateful, both of them, when you, somebody wants to cuddle me and stay with me. And they just couldn't, but in 2.5 years old, and just couldn't believe when they came out. So, I mean, it just makes
we need we need to write a book, how to buy a good used kitty or how to buy a good used doggy. That'll be the name of the book. Get some illustrations and everything, some drawing.
Illustrations, and do the voices for the dogs and the kitty.
Meow. Hi, my name is Kitty. My name's Kitty.
You've got the kitty down. That's good. I guess I could do the voice for the doggy.
Oh, well, you know, people will look back this on the years gone by and say, is that what people did? You know, well, because my God, what was they thinking of, and recording it as well. I'm just hoping when we finish tonight that the recording, I'm just too scared to hit that pause recording, or do I just shut down? I don't know what to do now, because there's no button that says stop.
Okay. Well,
it just says pause.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see.
So do you reckon I should just do the pause, or
and then if it's paused and then ended, is that the problem? Maybe it's paused and it doesn't ever get finished. You probably just end the thing, I imagine.
But there's no end.
Right. No, I mean that's what I'm saying. We both get out and then it does it, I imagine.
Oh, you just I'll think
if you pause, will it just hold for a long time until?
Maybe that's what it is, and maybe we just shut down and just. Well, I'll do that, and I think it should, because it's saying it's recording. So, and I didn't stop it, so there was no chance of it doing that. So that seems to be a wrap up for another scintillating episode of the weekly.
Yeah, that sounds good. So tell them how to get a hold of your stuff. Where's your website?
Yes, well, if you want to, well, my website is jeffblanchard.com. That's easy to remember. So you can get up there, but also you can go to Relate Corp on YouTube and Vimeo for catch the Tech Down Over shows. And Rick and I have been doing the weekly shows, but we've also started doing 5 to 7 minute little Tech Down Over things, like with the Osmo and different things. I'm trying to do little, reviews or little hints on software or different things. I'm a bit intimidated sometimes about some of the higher end software, because there's so many people doing all that, but there's little bits and pieces that they don't cover. And so I thought, hey, I can't see anybody said about that, and it's a little thing that not everybody will want, but trying to do that. Anyway, well, that's how you can get hold of my stuff.
And you can find pretty much everything I do at holbrooknewmedia.com. And like you said, there's a link on there to go see the book on, there's a free audio sample at Audible. Whenever you go and look at the book, you can just, under the picture on the left side there, you can just click and listen to 4 minutes and 50 seconds of the book. And so that'll give you an idea about what it sounds like and whether or not I was yucky when I did it.
Okay, well, we'll try and see what happens now when I do finish it. Oh, that's your. And somebody might see that and say, "Hey, look at this! Look at this!"
Yeah, he's a few thousand miles away, and he's still holding him prisoner.
That's right. Anyway, nice to see you, and catch you same time
next week. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Bye.